Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Colonel Frank Colley. We warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Robert Boyd, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Robert Boyd. Robert Boyd was born on the 8th of July, 1879, in the family home at Helensburgh in Dunbartonshire, Scotland, to William and Jane Boyd. The family emigrated to Australia when Boyd was 5 years old and settled in Brisbane, where he attended Fortitude Valley State School. Boyd volunteered for service in South Africa during the Boer War with the Queensland Imperial Bushmen. He left Australia with his unit in mid-May 1900, and soon after arrival was promoted to corporal. Over the following years, the Queenslanders saw a lot of action in Pretoria, the Transvaal and Cape Colony. The majority of the unit, including Boyd, sailed for home in July 1901. On the 6th of February 1902, Boyd married Eleanor Maud Henderson in Brisbane. A month after their wedding, Boyd signed up again to serve in South Africa, this time with the 7th Battalion, Australian Commonwealth Horse, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Harry Chauvel. With his previous service, Boyd was promoted to sergeant. It was while Boyd's contingent was sailing to South Africa that the war came to an end. The contingent continued on and spent a month on garrison duties before returning to Australia in July. He was back in time for his daughter's birth in September, and in the ensuing years, 2 sons were born to the couple. Boyd was working as a labourer when the First World War broke out. He enlisted in Brisbane on the 6th of January 1916, and after his initial training, was posted to the newly raised 14th Light Horse Regiment, where he was promoted to corporal. He embarked with his unit from Sydney on the 13th of May aboard the transport ship Beltana, bound for England. In England, Australian divisional establishments underwent several changes, and the 14th Light Horse was disbanded. Boyd transferred to the 15th Battalion, and on the 23rd of September, sailed for France. He spent a little over a week at Etaples before being sent to join his battalion in early October. After enduring the winter of 1916 and 1917, rotating in and out of the front line of the Somme, the 15th Battalion was involved in pursuing the German army as it withdrew to the prepared defences of the Hindenburg Line. Boyd was promoted to temporary sergeant in early February and was a steadying influence on those around him. In early April, the battalion was located at Bapaume. On the 6th of April, the men were involved in working parties, burying cables between Vaux and Narroy for the upcoming attack on Bullecourt. The Australians were subjected to intermittent artillery fire throughout the day, and the 15th Battalion suffered 5 men wounded, one of whom was Boyd, who suffered shrapnel wounds to his spine and back. He was evacuated via the 13th Australian Field Ambulance to the No. 3 Australian Casualty Clearing Station near Dernancourt, but his wounds proved mortal and he died on the 9th of April. Robert Boyd was laid to rest in Ave-Louis Communal Cemetery Extension. He was 36 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A group photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. Sergeant Robert Boyd is located in the second row, 11 from the left. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Robert Boyd, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you all for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.